This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work, responding to an AskProfWolff question from AR, a member of our Patreon community. And like all the questions that come from our Patreon community, it is a pleasure to respond and to see the kinds of interaction that we are able to sustain. AR asks a really interesting question. He asks us to imagine, as the preface to his question, what might be the world if all the things Bernie Sanders proposes were in some special way that we can't quite imagine to become realities, either very soon or in the not so immediate future. Something that AR refers to as heaven on earth. Without playing with that metaphor much further, let me simply say that I find the question itself evidence of, a symptom of, a vague recognition everywhere that it's coming. Not in the sense that Jesus is returning or something like that, but that the flow of history, with all its backward and forward movements, it's certainly not a straight line, but nonetheless, the flow of history would suggest it. And let me explain what I mean. As little as 100 years ago, and for the 1,000 years before that, if a person got sick, he or she would either recover naturally or die, or maybe, if they were lucky, get some help and support from family, from friends, from community. But you wouldn't likely see an institutionalized system that is continuously ready to take care of you, to whisk you into the hands of people that are specially trained to diagnose what you have and to prescribe a developed remedy. In those nations lucky enough to have a national health service, that kind of institution over the last 100 years has been established. Millions and millions of people are born, live their lives till the last day of that life, and they're covered by health insurance and a health institution that serves their physical and often also mental well-being. That never existed before. That exists now. And despite the opposition of mostly profit-driven enterprises who want to make money off your illness rather than put as the top priority curing it, despite their oppositions, which is sometimes successful, the United States has no national health program, except for parts of the population that have won it. Veterans, Congress representatives, and the elderly, the folks over 65. So my guess is it's coming to the rest of the world. There's good evidence for it. Much the same is true about having a public park, a place maintained as a natural space for meadows, trees, ponds, where, when you need it, to recoup yourself, to get a better mood, to get some time off, you and a blanket and a family and a picnic can go. It's maintained all the time, ready for you all the time, whenever you want it. And it is kept clean and neat and safe and even made beautiful for you to enjoy. What a remarkable idea. And you don't have to be the rich lord of the manor to get it. And speaking of lords of the manor, we also have, and I think this is perhaps where AR's question was leading, we also have another piece of evidence. For much of the human race's history, we divided people into masters and slaves. The masters lived reasonably well, the slaves not so much. And then we divided the world into lords and serfs, and the lords lived pretty well and the serfs not so much. But we recognize, we the human race, that these systems were unsustainable, unacceptable, outrages against what? Against some idea that we are all human beings in the end. And it might be a lot better to lift us all up rather than to divide us into those that are lifted and those that are repressed. So we got rid, as a people, of slavery. And we got rid of, as a people, of feudalism. And now we have capitalism, which we hoped would get us beyond the minority at the top and the majority at the bottom. Well, it didn't. Yeah, we don't have masters and slaves. Yeah, we don't have lords and serfs. But we have employers and employees, and that is way too similar to last much longer than they did. And maybe, because of the struggle against them, last a lot less longer than they did. So those are the reasons why I think that the things that Sanders advocates get the kind of response of the American people that has surprised everyone, because they are in tune with the history moving in the direction that AR's question suggests. So I end up being quite hopeful, even though obviously I'm not immune to understanding the obstacles, the counter pressures, the difficulties. But it's a fight worth fighting because the outcome is that which human beings have longed for as long as we have records. Thank you to the entire Patreon community and to AR for the question and for the community that allows us to communicate.